Have you ever trusted someone and then felt drained, confused, or even guilty for no reason? Maybe you ignored the most dangerous sign in a person, according to Carl Jung. And the scariest part? It doesn't come with shouting or villain masks. It comes with a smile, with forced empathy, with gestures that seem like affection, but slowly drain your soul. In this video, you'll understand why your intuition was restless during that strange conversation, and what it was trying to alert you to. This sign might be closer than you think. Charming masks, hidden shadows. Some people enter our lives like a breath of fresh air, kind, available, attentive, almost like an unexpected gift. But over time, something starts to feel off. It's not what they say, it's what they don't say. The smile is still there, but you get the feeling something is hiding behind it. Carl Jung said that the more a person tries to appear perfect, the more shadow they hide. And it's precisely this excessive light that blinds us to what's being concealed: emotional games, subtle manipulations, and a constant need for control disguised as empathy. These individuals often aren't even aware of how disconnected they are from themselves. They learn to be pleasant as a survival strategy, and because of this, they confuse connection with control. You know that friend who's always helping you, but if you say, "I can't right now," their tone changes? Or that person who gradually involves you in a web of emotional obligations you never asked for? That's it. That's how it begins. Small concessions, seemingly harmless smiles, and before you know it, you're trapped in a knot you don't know how it was tied. These charming masks make you lower your guard, and that's when the exhaustion begins. You try to justify the strange feeling, blame yourself for feeling distrustful, and move away from yourself to stay close to the other person. But there's one detail: the body never lies. The initial discomfort is just the beginning. If your intuition has already given you a silent warning, it's because your unconscious is trying to protect you. And that's precisely why the next sign is even more subtle, and perhaps the most ignored by most people. Subtle energetic warnings. Some people enter a room and, without saying a word, already change the air. The person smiles, compliments, even seems trustworthy. But something inside you starts to contract, as if you had an antenna picking up a strange station. Sometimes it's just a slight discomfort, a tightness in your chest, a chill in your stomach, fatigue that comes out of nowhere. This isn't being fussy or dramatic. It's your unconscious giving you a warning before your mind can name what's happening. It's as if something invisible were saying, "Stay alert, something here doesn't add up." Many people learn to ignore this kind of sensation. They were taught to be polite, not to judge, not to make a scene. But energy doesn't need permission to manifest itself. Have you noticed how some environments make you feel light, while others drain your strength in minutes? This applies to people too, and that's where the danger lies. Because when you invalidate your body's signals, you end up giving your trust to those who know how to disguise well, but aren't there to add value. And by the time you realize it, you're already involved in a bond that's difficult to break. Paying attention to this discomfort is one of the greatest acts of emotional intelligence. It's your natural compass pointing north when appearances want to throw you south. Want to test this in practice? Observe how you feel after talking to someone. If you leave feeling energized, there's an exchange. If you leave exhausted, there's drainage. It's that simple. Jotting down these reactions in a journal, for example, can reveal patterns that your conscious mind doesn't yet see. And as you understand what you feel, you begin to see what you previously only sensed. But there's something even deeper in this energy game that might go unnoticed. Energy doesn't lie. You might not understand why, but you feel it. You know that seemingly harmless meeting that leaves you exhausted, as if you'd run a marathon. The conversation was normal, no fighting, no apparent tension. But inside, something in you wilted. This isn't a coincidence. It's energy being drained. Some people, even without conscious intention, pull from others what they can't sustain in themselves, as if your balance were food for their chaos. And no matter how much they try to cover this up with sweet words, the body feels it, always feels it. And here's an important point. Words lie, energy doesn't. Some people will compliment you while draining you. They'll laugh with you, but inside carry an emotional load that cuts through you like a silent storm. This happens because the energy we carry is the result of wounds we haven't yet healed. People with unresolved emotional needs, deep insecurities, repressed anger, poorly digested traumas end up, without realizing, transferring this weight to those nearby, especially to those with a more open, more sensitive, more available heart. Want to know if this is happening to you? Observe your state after meeting certain people. Do you feel lighter or heavier, inspired or drained, calm or in internal conflict? Don't ignore these signs. A good tip is to establish moments of silence after social interactions. Turn off your phone, take a walk, breathe deeply. If your body quickly returns to balance, it was just tiredness. But if the discomfort persists, perhaps you've absorbed more than you should have. And this is just the beginning, because the most subtle manipulators don't just drain your energy, they distort your reality. Silent manipulators and gaslighting. They don't shout, they don't point fingers, they don't make a scene. They're silent, engaging, almost always too kind. The manipulation they practice isn't noisy, it's strategic. They confuse you with phrases like, "You misunderstood? That's all in your head. Wow, you're so sensitive." Little by little, you begin to doubt your own memory, your emotions, what you saw and heard clearly. This type of reality distortion has a name: gaslighting. And when it enters the scene, your internal confidence begins to crumble, brick by brick. The silent manipulator doesn't just want to control you. They want to make you believe that you need them to interpret the world. They position themselves as the reference of truth, as someone more rational, more stable. And you, without realizing it, assume the role of exaggerated, unstable, out of control. The problem? This creates emotional dependency. You begin to seek their approval for everything because you no longer know how to trust your own judgment. And every time you try to take a stand, the response comes with a crooked smile. See how difficult you are to deal with? It's devastating and much more common than it seems. To break this cycle, you need to start listening to your own voice again. Write down situations that generate doubt. Talk to people outside the cycle. Observe patterns of repetition. Books like Toxic People by Bernardo Stamateas or Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes help to recover this inner strength. Because the true power lies in recognizing that no one can define your reality for you. But what do you do when the guilt and emotional conflicts you feel aren't even yours? Shadow projection. It's curious how certain criticisms seem to come with disproportionate weight, isn't it? You make some small mistake, and suddenly you're treated as if you were the worst human being on earth, or someone accuses you of attitudes you know you didn't commit. Most of the time, this isn't about you. It's the other person's shadow speaking louder. When someone doesn't accept their own flaws, traumas, or weaknesses, they end up projecting them onto others as a form of defense. It's the unconscious trying to get rid of what bothers it, throwing emotional garbage at whoever is nearby. These projections are treacherous. They make you carry guilt that isn't yours. You begin to feel wrong, inadequate, as if you always owe an explanation. Sometimes it's a boss who keeps pointing out your lack of commitment when they themselves can't meet deadlines. Other times, it's a relative who calls you selfish every time you try to set boundaries. The problem is that when you don't understand this is projection, you begin to mold yourself to others' expectations, suffocating who you really are, and moving away from your own truth. The best way to protect yourself from this is to develop sharp self-observation. Ask yourself, is this guilt really mine? Or does what they're saying align with my behavior? Writing about your emotions, talking to neutral people, and practicing self-knowledge are powerful tools for regaining your center. Therapies like Jungian analysis help identify where your feeling ends and someone else's begins. But what about when envy disguises itself as support? How do you distinguish genuine affection from disguised sabotage? Envy disguised as affection. Sometimes envy doesn't come with an ugly face. It smiles, compliments with a certain delay, pats you on the back, but carries an uncomfortable silence when you achieve something important. It's that friend who changes the subject when you share a victory. It's the family member who lets out a "congratulations, I guess," with a distant look. This subtle envy is more dangerous because it disguises itself as affection. And since the discourse is full of politeness, you end up ignoring the discomfort. But your body notices. The mood changes, the energy cools, and deep down you feel something strange is happening here. The problem is that most people were taught to ignore these signs, not to distrust those who are close. After all, so-and-so has always been with you, right? But the truth is that envy often comes from those who know your journey best, precisely because they closely follow what, deep down, they would like to have. And this manifests in a passive-aggressive way, jokes that diminish your achievements, phrases like, "Wow, that doesn't even seem like you," or "Don't forget who helped you, okay?" It seems light, but it corrodes from within. It undermines your joy until you yourself begin to sabotage yourself. The way out? Preserve your light without apologizing for it. It's not about immediately cutting ties, but about observing who truly vibrates with your victories. People who see you growing and cheer with authenticity don't disappear when you shine. A practical tip is to have small celebrations and observe who shows up and how they show up. Sometimes silence says more than 1,000 words. And when you begin to protect your energy intelligently, you naturally move away from those who are constantly creating turbulence. Chaotic individuals. Have you noticed that some people are like walking storms? Wherever they go, they bring mess, tension, urgency. It seems like everything around them is always collapsing. One day it's a problem at work, the next it's a family fight, then it's drama with friends. And there you are, trying to help, getting sucked into this whirlwind. These people aren't seeking peace. They survive in chaos. And it's not out of malice. Often, it's because chaos has become a familiar place. An emotional pattern learned, often since childhood, that now serves as a comfort zone. They feed on the adrenaline of crises. And the most curious thing? When everything begins to calm down, they unconsciously create new conflicts. It might be a misplaced piece of gossip, a nurtured misunderstanding, or even an impulsive action just to stir the waters. And who's nearby? Ends up in the middle of the confusion. The worst part is that often you feel responsible for saving these people. After all, no one wants to abandon someone who's suffering, right? But here's where the danger lies. While you try to be the firefighter of someone else's life, your own emotional well-being turns to ashes. That's why the secret is not to walk away in anger. It's to protect yourself with wisdom. When you notice that someone's life is an eternal roller coaster, ask yourself, is this mine or theirs? Create emotional distance. Establish clear boundaries. You can care, but you don't need to drown together. A good exercise is to imagine that you're watching everything from the bleachers, not in the middle of the stage. Because only when you understand that your piece is worth more than any outside storyline, that's when you start to protect what's most valuable. Guarding your inner peace. After going through so many profiles that drain energy, manipulate, project, and create chaos, one thing becomes clear. Protecting your peace isn't a luxury, it's emotional survival. Carl Jung said that recognizing the patterns of the unconscious is the first step to not being dominated by them. This applies both to you and to those around you. And here's something essential. Boundaries aren't walls that isolate. They're filters that protect. Saying no firmly, leaving conversations that don't make you feel good, or even turning off your phone for a while. All of this is self-care, not selfishness. Inner peace is born when you stop taking responsibility for fixing others. Not everyone is ready to change, and you don't need to carry that mission on your shoulders. Instead of molding yourself to someone else's discomfort, start cultivating your own emotional security. Techniques like daily meditation, reading authors like Eckhart Tolle, and practices like journaling are powerful tools for keeping your center firm even when the world out there is collapsing. When your energy is balanced, you see clearly who's there to add value and who only appears to drain. The truth is that living with lightness requires courage. Courage to let go of unhealthy bonds, to listen to your intuition even when it contradicts logic, and to choose yourself even if it hurts at first. Because emotional freedom comes with a responsibility not to return to the place where you lost yourself trying to please. And when you understand this, something inside you awakens. As if you were finally ready to see the most dangerous sign in a person, and never ignore it again when it appears. Now that you know how to identify the signs of manipulation and emotional distortion, it's time to act. Remember, your inner peace is sacred. Don't allow anyone to destroy it or use it as a bargaining chip. Protect your energy, be firm in your boundaries, and trust your intuition. Any person or situation that makes you question who you really are should be observed with more caution. Ask yourself, is this mine or is it being imposed? Don't be fooled by pretty words or disguised gestures. It's time to put an end to relationships that drain, to make room for those that truly add value. Now tell me, have you ever been through a situation like this? Do you feel surrounded by people who don't help you grow? Leave it here in the comments. Let's exchange experiences and learn together. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning how to identify the most subtle signs around you. Oh, and if you like this video, don't miss the next one, which is right here on the screen. It will help you dive even deeper into this topic. See you there.